When it comes to magnificent prehistoric structures, there are few better places to go than Scotland. These circular stone towers, known as Brochs, are marvels of Iron Age architecture that are found only here. They are the megastructures of northern Britain for the Iron Age. But they're also full of mystery, raising as many questions as they do answers. So what do we actually know about them?
A broch is a circular drystone structure. It's a roundhouse. These monumental towers were constructed during the Iron Age, largely during the late 1st millennium BC. And this is Dun Telve at Glenelg. It's one of the most impressive brochs still standing in Scotland, at some places standing some 10 metres in height.
This broch is insane, one of the best preserved in the whole of Scotland. The fact that Dun Telve still survives to such great heights today is proof enough of the great skill the prehistoric stonemasons who built it possessed more than 2,000 years ago. But it's also important to note that no two brochs were exactly the same. Across Scotland, these towers varied in how they looked and in the quality of their building. Nevertheless, there are some regular, repeating features to point out. The bottom of the broch wall has an iconic receding slope, or batter, but further up, it becomes vertical. The walls themselves are made of drystone, stones placed together without mortar, and above the entranceway, you have a massive slab of stone called the lintel stone. In the entrance itself were thin slabs of stone called jambs, meant to hold a door in place, and behind these jambs were wall sockets, designed to house a drawbar that the Iron Age people would have dragged across the entrance. Most brochs had an outer and an inner wall, and between these two walls were spaces for extra rooms called cells and galleries. This intramural space was also where the occupants placed stairs, because yes, that's right, these towers originally were multi-storey. And of course, covering the top of the broch would have been a roof, probably made of thatch or turf. It's fascinating to learn about the brochs that were built thousands of years ago, but here on the History Hits YouTube channel, we like to get a little more hands-on.
I've come to Caithness in northern Scotland, just south of John O'Groats, to meet a man who's going to show me how to build a broch. So Iain, here we are. What exactly are we looking at here?
This is actually a modern reconstruction of a broch. It's a model broch that was built as part of an experiment only about 10 to 15 years ago.
And I can see that you've got a few features of the broch here in front of us.
Yeah, what they've built here is the entranceway to a broch, along with the infamous guard cell at the side, and some of the features that can be found inside the doorway. So the first feature that kind of strikes here is this ledge that's built up the side.
Yep.
And obviously brochs are 2,000-year-old structures, so hardly any wooden remains survive in the archaeological records. But the reason that we know that they were multi-floored structures is because this ledge here that we call the scarcement ledge. So we believe that this ledge was constructed to support wooden beams, and would sit there like that, and that would run across the other side of the broch, and this would be evidence where your first floor was.
So this ledge is to show a floor level in the broch?
Exactly, yeah. And some of the brochs even have another further ledge further up in the broch tower itself, showing that these were multi-floored structures in the Iron Age.
In an age associated with round houses made of earth and thatch, it's amazing to think that these were multi-storey stone buildings, the mansions of their day.
Well, let's go and have a look inside, see some more stuff in here.
Right, here we go, the entranceway. So here's the doorway, a very robust door on a broch, with the door checks here with upright orthostatic stones that the door would sit against.
Yeah.
Once you shut the door against those door jambs, you pull this bar through that rests in the aperture built into the wall here, and this would bar up against the door, making it very secure.
So we've seen at several brochs already these features of the doorway, the passageway, but with this timber beam here we can really visualise how it functions.
That's right, yeah, this would make a very robust doorway.
Brochs were certainly built to be secure and imposing. They were strong stone symbols of power and authority, yes, But they weren't solely designed to be Iron Age defensive bastions. Brochs were also homes. They could be centres of communities that had several functions, from granaries to smithies.
Iain, these are quite some heavy stones right above this entrance passageway. Do we have any idea how these Iron Age people would have got stones like this, these slabs, up here without modern machinery?
So we think because they're too heavy for a single person to lift, that they would have built long ramps using logs that were set to create a trackway, and they would just roll the stones up the logs and set them up on top of the broch here. So that's how they got really heavy stones above waist height.
Because the stones in Iron Age time, this is actually quite a small example. They would have been much bigger here.
They would be much bigger than this, and they would definitely be almost impossible, I would say, for two men to lift between themselves. So they must have used some sort of method to move such weights up above shoulder height.
And do we have any idea, any theories of potential tools that these people would have used, let's say to make slabs like these horizontal?
In order to build a structure of this type, they must have had some sort of rudimentary archaic toolkit. So we've got this rather archaic looking spirit level here.
Oh yes, yep.
Where if you actually set that down on top of that lintel stone there, when this line meets with that marked line there, it shows that this is perfectly level. So whoever built this, laid this stone here, knew what they were doing.
Our ancestors may not have had the help of modern machinery, but they were clearly very capable stonemasons. Although the quality of these brochs does vary, with some much better made than others.
So we're on the outside wall of the broch now, and brochs have this kind of infamous cooling tower shape where they taper in. So to maintain the batter, which is the inward sloping of the wall, they would have used a tool a bit like this. It's a plumb blob set at a 20-degree angle. So this would be applied on the outside of the broch. And when that line marries up with that line there, we know that this is set at a 20-degree angle.
Right, okay, so that is how they maintained that angle going up right at the start.
That's right, and a master mason might be able to use this tool to check various different teams that are working on the broch at one time.
So this was built by the community, not by, let's say, expert broch builders?
Yeah, and I think that's probably the case in the Iron Age as well, where not every broch was built to such stringent tolerances. The good ones that are still standing are well constructed brochs, but I think for the most part the majority of them weren't so well constructed, which might show that they were built by members of the community and the families that were going to be living in them. Not everybody was an expert stonemason back then, and the quality of the stonework and the lack of quality of the stonework can really reflect that.
One thing I really want to know is how prehistoric communities made such accurate circles. Fortunately, Iain has a theory.
So as I said before, they're circular buildings, and they must have had some sort of means of maintaining that circular shape. So if you could pick that central pole up there.
Yep.
From the end of this line here, we have this point that we call the trammel, and we use this attached to the centre pole to maintain the radius of the structure to create that smooth curve.
Ah, so yes, I see. And as simple as it sounds, this or something perhaps like this was how these people were able to maintain that circular shape, especially as the broch got higher and higher and higher.
That's right, yeah, as the broch gets taller, the line gets shorter, and that's what would maintain the batter of the broch on the outside.
Yeah.
As Iain continues to run rings around me, I was ready to sit down for a break. Building brochs is hard work, and we hadn't even laid down a single stone yet. So what do we know about the stones themselves? The building blocks of the broch.
So Iain, we've talked about potential tools and construction methods, but talk to me about the stones themselves.
So this is the famous Caithness stone, which is splits into flat laminar pieces.
Yes.
So there's over 2,000 tonnes of stone went into the construction of a broch. But I think they would have generally used a field stone that was cleared from the site and then gathered up first before commencing construction.
And were brochs in Caithness, like around the rest of Scotland, were they usually made out of locally acquired stone?
Yeah, it's locally acquired stone. It's actually a sandstone that's gone through a metamorphic process to create this flat laminar pieces. It's quite brittle.
Yes. You wouldn't think, therefore, that would be a prime stone used in the building of one of these megastructures, but even these more brittle pieces of sandstone, well, they had a key purpose.
Yeah, it breaks into flat laminar pieces that just so happen to be very easy to build with because they fit together quite easily.
Right, so we've seen so many of these brochs now. I'm dying to get hands on and to see how they were constructed.
Let's do it.
So Ian, what's first?
Let's get to it. So there's this stone here that I'll
Right.
give you.
Okay.
One of the key points here is to lay it with the length of the stone going into the wall, and that provides stability for it.
Okay, so pointing that way, I put it over here, and somewhere around
There you go.
here, around here to start it off.
Then once you've got your stone in position, you can see it's wobbling around a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
So if you could put some of these pinning stones underneath it,
Okay, so
so
we'll kind
give
of like...
it a little wobble.
Yeah. I'm guessing we see this time and time again in Broch construction, do
Yeah,
we?
this ensures it's stable and
right.
not wobbling around the place. So each stone should be perfectly stable before we move on to the next one.
And more kind of, and this is what they would do all around, would they?
All around, and then check to see if the stone is wobbling now.
Yeah.
When that's quite
a bit more.
solid there.
Bit more in. Yeah. And they put that all around, I'm guessing. Yep.
There we go. And then you can then use this tool here.
Oh yes, we saw that earlier.
We use this to make sure that we've maintained the radius, so that looks quite good there. And then another key thing to do is fill in this gap here. So if you could lay some of those stones in that gap.
Yep. And then, is there any particular style you want us to lay these down over
Yeah,
here?
they've got to be laid on their flat.
Oh, okay, so not like, can't do
Yeah,
stuff
not
like that.
there, yeah.
Right, gotcha. So that's it.
So the tighter these are packed, the more robust the structure will be.
Okay, something like that, there we go. And is this something you see time and time again in the Brochs? These big stones and then these
That's right.
smaller ones in the gaps?
That's right, yeah. So we also see diminishing courses. So we see the biggest stones in the Broch down at the bottom, and the stones are gradually getting smaller as the Broch gets taller, because who wants to be lifting huge stones up 10 metres high?
Absolutely. Now, we've just done that actually relatively quickly with that big stone, these smaller ones all around it. But how much time, how many hours do you think it would have taken for Iron Age communities to build a Broch, like the ones, for instance, we've seen at Knivester?
Yeah, there's been a number of studies gone into how much time and labour it would take to actually build a Broch. So they think it would take around 200 man days for 3 teams of 10 people to construct 2,000 tonnes of stone.
Bloody hell.
That's just for the construction and the laying of the stones themselves. That doesn't account for gathering all these materials and bringing them to the site.
Well, I think we've still got a few hours of sunlight, so we better keep going.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Disappointingly, it was clear I wasn't going to rebuild this Broch in one evening. But fortunately, Iain's team is planning to create a huge reconstruction in the near future.
So Dawn, what is the Caithness Broch Project?
The Caithness Broch Project is a locally based charity which was formed in 2013. The mission of the Caithness Broch Project could probably be broken into 2 areas. The first one being the promotion of the history and archaeology of Caithness, and the second one being the construction of a replica Iron Age Broch in Caithness.
Yes, talk to me about this mission of the Caithness Broch Project.
Well, we noticed that a lot of the visitors to this area are passing through in order to get to Orkney and Shetland, where there are similar types of archaeology. But we have the same thing here, but it's very under-promoted. Also, Caithness is the home of the Broch, so we felt that building a Broch, a replica Broch, would be a unique and distinctive project for us to work on, to bring tourism and attention to our county.
What are some key achievements of the Broch Project so far?
Well, it's been a slow progress. We're currently just coming to the end of a long site selection process. We've reviewed almost 35 sites, and we have now narrowed it down to 2 sites. So at the moment we are de-risking these sites, doing as much as we possibly can by ourselves and with volunteer help. Well, I think I would say the main standout achievement of our project has been Owsdale Broch. We conserved Owsdale Broch about 3 years ago. That was a £140,000 funded project whereby we created a small car park at the side of the A9 and constructed a path all the way down to Owsdale Broch. We've also installed interpretation panels all the way down the path towards the Broch, which explain the construction of the Broch, its history and the history of the area.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. And remember that my new series, Mysteries of Prehistoric Scotland, is now available on History Hit TV. So what are you waiting for? Go and watch it. Go now. The link is on the screen.